Okay, I don't need anything here. Make sure everything is golden with apple cider. You know what?
It's
Golden with apple cider. Got a problem with that?
I've never heard that before.
I haven't either, if that makes you feel any better.
Oh gosh, I need one more sip of water and we are set.
Yes. Okay, let's see if I can get your camera to match. Okay, your camera's kind of going like a back and forth, and then I see you doing because it's freezing a little bit, and then it'll come, but that's the part that it comes back to. All right, well that might.
God. Nakovic tap water through a Brita filter. Good soup. Alrighty, we are off. First episode of the Unhealthy Scratches podcast. You should have known my intros are going to be chaos.
What start was that? The mic.
Oh gosh, you should have known this is going to be chaos. For anyone who's watching or listening right now, I'm Nick. This is Matt, and we are here to hopefully not scare you guys away.
I don't know about this, bro. I think we're gonna scare the tar out of them.
Oh,
the roads are gonna be dirt because we used all the tar on them. It's gonna be bad.
We're already starting with the dry humor.
Anyways.
Yeah, so before we get too out of hand, we are going to start with a rather heavy topic. Of course, anybody who's ever watching or paying attention to the NHL does know what I'm about to mention. Everyone knows about the scandal in Chicago, a cover-up of Kyle Beach's assault and everything that went on with that. I remember when it first came through, I see Chicago Blackhawks allegedly cover up sexual assault of Black Ace player. I was just like, that can't be true. So then they go through, they get the memo, and I start reading the memo, and I get about 60 pages deep, and I was like, oh god. It's so much more than just covering up a sexual assault to protect player morale in a playoff push. It resulted in a sexual offender getting to celebrate Stanley Cup around the player who he sexually assaulted, sending inappropriate images to another Black Ace, making unwanted advancements on a team intern in a cab. And then in 2014, he sexually assaults a 16-year-old kid. To put that in perspective, he's right around the same age as us. If you do the math. I did the math the other day. He's basically our age. The first person assaulted came public, I almost said John Beach. It's not John Beach. It's
John Doe and Kyle Beach, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Got it mixed up. Kyle Beach is John Doe 1 in the Chicago Blackhawks case. He came and had a incredibly hard but very necessary to hear interview with Rick Westhead on TSN. Talking about
props to Rick, by the way. Props to Rick for all that work.
He's incredible.
Legendary
kid you
status.
not, I've probably retweeted every post he's put on, not just on this scandal, but he literally had to take like a week break after this all came out because of how much time he put into trying to cover it throughout the summer. But he had that incredibly powerful interview. The worst part for me watching it, besides being someone who has struggled with a lot of similar things, was when Rick asked him, what do you think about when you think of the other person, John Doe 2, the 16-year-old at the time kid who was assaulted. And he just starts breaking down. He felt responsible for what happened because he never spoke up. And that's the worst part of these types of things, is when these crimes get swept under the rug. You never realize how far the repercussions are going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after all these things, John Doe 2's mother was interviewed by Rick Westhead. That's another incredibly hard video to watch. I watched that as well.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen any of this, if somehow you haven't seen it, we will have links at least in the description.
We'll have links in the description of the YouTube channel. If you follow, I know I've retweeted all of these videos out on Twitter. These, to truly grasp the nature of this situation, you need to listen to those. And if you have the wherewithal to read the memo, read the memo. It's even not counting the content inside it, it is a hard read. But if you truly want to understand it, do it. I know I'm gonna finish it sometime this week, just to get the full scope of it. But
it's all tough. It's just nasty.
It's like, and we can go all podcast and say how heinous these things were, and how these people were essentially their lives have been ruined for the most part.
Have been tainted.
It's tainted
even,
for sure.
There is definitely recovery, but it's like has been said by Kyle. It's a long process. Like it's not going to be instant.
And like during the interview with John Doe 2's mom, she basically I'm paraphrasing, watched the full interview to get the full context. She basically said that their entire family is basically ruined. That was her words. And we could say, oh, this is terrible, this happened. Nobody should have to go through this. And it's true. But just saying that is not enough. It's not enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A video coach of an NHL team threatened the career and the physical health of a hockey player to get his own way. And I say physical health because not only did he threaten Kyle Beach's career, but he had a Chicago Cubs baseball bat in his hand and said, "I will ruin your career and your knees if you don't let me do what I'm going to do." And what aggravates me the most, after all these things that he did, he gets convicted for assaulting John Doe 2. In my personal opinion, the prosecution of a sexual assault in North America is ridiculous, because he only went to jail 9 months. Like,
not enough
9 months.
Damage.
And he gets out of jail. And not until he was out of jail on probation as a sex offender, he gets a second moment with the Stanley Cup. He put in a request. Whatever the context of the request was, why he was entitled to a day with the Cup. But a story done by Ryan Rashad of TSN chronicled, basically, if you meet certain criteria, you can have another moment with the Cup. And he doesn't request it until after he gets caught and goes to jail, comes out. To me, who's faced a lot of this stuff, it seemed like a spit in the face to every single person who's ever faced even similar trauma to these people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and the NHL is going to be paying for Kyle Beach and his family's therapy. They're not going to be paying for John Doe 2's. They announced that. That was a statement to his lawyers. Basically said, we weren't directly the cause of his suffering. So basically, it's Chicago has the ball. And we don't know what's going to happen there. I might be incredibly pessimistic. I may be incredibly pessimistic, but something tells me Chicago's not going to do anything either. They're probably just going to try and get a settlement, get a non-disclosure agreement signed, and brush everything under the rug. So everything legally
what's been happening
correct.
For years.
It's happening for so long. That's the story of all these things. And I remember I was listening to, I'm going to be shouting out the Steve Dangle Podcast Network so many times during the time of these podcasts. But they were talking about, what if we do a GoFundMe? And their reasons for not starting one yet, well, Adam Weil messaged people like in around their camp. I don't know who exactly it was. We don't really need to know. But basically said, what do we do if we want to fundraise? And more or less they said, wait. Because in reality, if the public reacts before Chicago does, Chicago's probably not going to react. Because like, well, they got everything taken care of.
It'll be swept under the rug again.
Yeah. So basically, from what I've understood, watch the latest episode of the Steve Dangle podcast. But basically, until we have at least a good idea on what's going to happen in that front, there probably won't be a fundraiser. But after that, I will be plugging that everywhere. I'll plug it on the podcast. I don't care, because that kid needs help. That kid needs help.
Doe too. I
say kid even though he's literally our age, but you know what I mean.
It's we got it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's an entire rough topic, but it needs to be covered, because if people shut up about it, the people who need to move won't move. So that's why we decided to more or less start with that.
The people
topic.
Who are responsible won't move.
Exactly. Well, quick transition. It's a topic that in and of itself is rough to talk to also, but has a much bigger silver line. I shouldn't say a bigger silver lining, because there's a lot of change that's happening after the fallout of the Chicago scandal. Like we were mentioning before the podcast, Anaheim's GM and VP resigned after allegations came through the NHL hotline. So at least that hotline, which we weren't too sure was going to be super effective, is showing some results, which is great. That people have gained some strength in themselves to report what was done to them or their coworkers. So that's awesome. And another person who is found the strength to face the things that they need to face is Carey Price. And I'm not just saying that because he's the franchise goalie of my hockey team since I was in diapers,
your hockey
basically.
Team is the Montreal Canadiens? What evidence gives that away?
Who knew? Who knew at all? I'm totally not wearing a Carey Price jersey right now that I got from Walmart when I was like 13 for like $20, which somehow still fits, but I am.
It's because, bro, you've got the gains. That's what it is.
But
it's the gains.
But in all seriousness, like it's been covered that Carey Price ended up going into the player assistance program. We never really knew why for a while. We just assumed after a incredibly grueling playoff push and losing in the last round, compounding injuries could have put a toll on his mental health. And we know that Jonathan Drouin sat out most of last year to fix his mental health. And props to Johnny Drouin. And then it comes out in the offseason that Carey Price is going to do the same thing. So we're like, cool.
Which is needed.
Awesome.
It's needed.
Hopefully he needs help. But we never really knew the exact context until it came out that Carey Price is going to start reporting to the organization again. And everybody was like, great. But there was like that underlying question is like, well, when is he going to play? What conditioning he's going to go through. So I thought as a super accomplished podcast host, I'd have the entire statement pulled up on my phone. So bear with me while I look down.
As a prestigious, very sophisticated podcast member of society, you would believe that we would have such devices pulled up so that we wouldn't have to scramble to search for it. I hope I covered the time that you needed there.
But yeah, well, I already had it. Like, it was ready to go. I just had to hit a button on
Oh,
my phone.
so I just
But
interrupted. Okay.
the statements on Carey Price's Instagram page has been retweeted by literally every notable sports journalist that covers the NHL. I just so happened to find Chris Johnston's tweet and picture of the statement. Another shout out to the SDPN. Go watch the CJ show.
You're gonna shout at everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm shouting at everybody. I'm pretty sure I'm going to mention probably every single podcast at one point this episode. But the statement goes as such: over the last few years, I've let myself get to a very dark place and didn't have the tools to cope with that struggle. Last month, I made a decision to enter a residential treatment facility for substance abuse. Things had reached a point that I realized I needed to prioritize my health for both myself and for my family. Asking for help when you need it is what we encourage our kids to do, and it was what I needed to do. I am working through years of neglecting my own mental health, which will take some time to repair. All I can do is take it day by day. With that comes some uncertainty with when I will return to play. I appreciate all the overwhelming support and well wishes. I please ask that the media and our hockey community continue to respect our privacy at this time. Your support and respect of this so far has been a critical piece to my recovery. End quote, Carey Price. So that statement, it adds some context that frankly Carey didn't have to say, because he is, as you said, he's had overwhelming support. He gets back when he's ready to get back. That's the simple endpoint to that.
Yep. That's the big thing about, especially when you're dealing with stuff like mental health. It's not something that you can really put a time of recovery on. Like when it comes to like getting other stuff done, or like you kind of have a plan. It's like, okay, in 3 weeks time, I'm going to take like a 2-week break or a 3-week break, and then I'm jumping back on. Mental health, like it definitely works differently.
It does. Like you can like take all the breaks you want, but if there's underlying trauma that you're not dealing with, then it's going to be dealt with in some way. And Carey Price used whatever substance it was. Who knows what it was? Alcohol, painkillers. Who knows? We don't need to know, as long as he's getting his help and good recovery.
Getting back on track.
As long as he's getting better, that's the important thing.
Not even for the NHL, and I know it's your team. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not even for getting back in the NHL, but just getting back to at least
getting
a good
back
mental
to
state.
Being Carey Price, the human.
Yes.
That's the thing. That Carey Price, the human,
that guy exists.
He exists. Apparently, he does.
What? NHL players have a life? No.
In the end, Carey Price, the dad and the husband, is more important than Carey Price, franchise goalie for the Habs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more important than.
Your eye?
Sorry?
Did I just see a tear roll down your eye when you said that?
No, I am dialed in.
Your team goalie.
My team goalie. But that's the thing, is like people's individual health is more important than sports.
Yes.
It's more important than championships.
100%.
It's more important than all this. Like when I inevitably talk about my team in the next 10 minutes or whatever, I'm leaving Carey Price out of every situation. It's not.
Well, now you know it's going to be a positive conversation,
because Carey Price
it?
decided to take care of himself. That's not what I'm going to be ranting on about. Yes. That's frankly ridiculous. It would make me a hypocrite. But my point of bringing this up, he's getting his help. If you see a starting goaltender of one of the biggest hockey teams in the world take time to take care of his mental health, if you see people like Tyson Fury, the boxer, who was heavyweight champion of the world, beat Vladimir Klitschko on top of the world, beat the guy that was his goal to beat, starched him. And then people are like, well, what are you going to do now? Oh, I'm probably going to be depressed for the next few years. Like, he predicted it before it even happened.
Well, that sure could enough, be just speaking it into existence, though, right? Watching what you say.
Leading up to the fight, like he knew in and of himself, this was my goal for my entire life. I know I'm going to beat him. It's like, what is there now? and that's one of the big struggles. And then he ended up being incredibly depressed for the next few years of his life. Got up. I did the math. He got up to right around 380, 400 pounds. Now he's a tall guy, but that's still big for his height. And but then if one of those guys, starting goaltender, heavyweight champion of the world, can realize, oh, my mental health is in the gutter. It's got, his words was that if mental health can get the heavyweight champion of the world to his knees, then it can put anybody on their knees. And if the heavyweight champion of the world can get up and ask for help, then anybody can get up and ask for help. And that's the message. That's the real reason why I feel Carey Price decided to put that statement out. Is not just for him or give people an update on him, is to tell other people who are struggling that you can get help and that you deserve to get help.
No matter what's on your plate, right? Because that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people have a deteriorated mental health state, is because they overburden themselves, or they're stressed out over things that they don't need to be. Not a doctor, exactly. Not a doctor. Let it be known, anything that is said for advice, it is advice. It is advice. If you need someone, you talk to a professional counselor. Yes. Anything we give, you talk to a counselor or the therapist if you can't afford it.
I don't know about the States, but in Canada we have mental health clinics that are run by the government and is covered under Medicare. I was actually just referred to one by my doctor yesterday. I was put on low dose antidepressants yesterday. If I can do that, anybody can do that. I've heard people say it. You deserve to live, and you deserve to live happy. That's the message from these stories, and what we want to leave for this is, for this part of the show, if you need help, you can get help. If you can't afford a therapist, which they are expensive, they are very expensive.
They can be.
And if you have the resource like a mental health clinic that's free, awesome. If you don't even have that, just try and build your life around people who are going to positively impact your life.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, right? I mean, life in general isn't always going to be the most upbeat thing, but it's different, especially when like all it is kind of pushing down, or like it's always like there's a weight always there. We're just I know we talk about it a lot, that we like to be, stronger guys or stronger people in general, but the thing is that we're just not designed to take all the pressure that's especially going on in this world, and it's why you see a lot of people needing to take the time. It's not because like life isn't going to get harder, it's not going to be always 100% happy, but it's when there is nothing you can find that is making you happy or bringing any joy into your life, that's when there needs to be a fact check that kind of comes and says, hey, I got to do something to stop this before it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the important thing, is get help while you can. Confide in people that you trust. If you don't have any people that you can trust, I've heard people say, if you were loved once, you can be loved again. You can find other people. Make new connections. If that's hard, find situations that aren't super effective on that part of your mental health, of being around a bunch of people. Meet people online. Like, I have a lot of friends on Discord who I've never met in person, from the UK, the United States, from everywhere. And we got each other's backs, and we never met each other once in our life in physical distance. There's ways that you can get help in those ways also, and that's the message that everybody needs. Everybody deserves to be happy. Case in point.
Yes, absolutely. And for one thing, I know something that can kind of help, especially because a lot of the reasons why is sometimes you feel not accomplished in what you're doing. Sometimes that can be some of the most. Best way to fix that, have a checklist. Have a checklist of like simple things to do. Like even have a checklist if you struggle with this kind of stuff. Have a checklist for eating the correct meals. Have a checklist for even making your bed, just doing something in general, so that when you're done your day and you feel not accomplished, you have a checklist that you have marked off that says you've done stuff today.
Yeah, that's exactly. And they may seem so minuscule, but it's better to do 5 or 10 minuscule, insignificant things in the day than get absolutely battered doing something that's out of your capabilities.
Out of reach.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. And we've tackled 2 hard but necessary topics.
2 big topics, and we're about to make a transition. And basically from, okay, let's be honest. Hard transitions or whatever it is, hard topics are over. Pretty much for the rest of it, we're just gonna have a blast of rants. But nothing, all for mostly satire's sake. So don't worry, we won't talk about anything too hardening anymore. Heart-wrenching.
Yeah, exactly.
That part may be a little bit different, but for a lot different of a reason.
Yeah, exactly. As for what I'm about to talk about, my hockey team.
Which is the Ottawa Senators.
No, I wish. No.
You wish.
Well, so many people are like, well, Nick, the Ottawa Senators are tied with you guys in points. They've only played 10 games. Shut up. Or 12 games or something like that. We have like at least 2 games, or they have 2 games on us, at least. I know the Boston Bruins are 6-4-0. They've only played 10 games. My team is Les Habitants. Montreal Canadiens.
I've got it pulled up. But
Les Bleu Blanc et Rouge are at 3-10-1. We have.
That's so sad.
After a Cinderella of Cinderella runs in the playoffs, we come back and beat Toronto. We ruin their day. Another first round exit for Toronto. I told everybody, it was like, it's just like Plankton from SpongeBob. Wow, I didn't know we were going to get this far.
Bro, I don't know if
we run into Winnipeg.
Did.
What do? We sweep Winnipeg.
Like nobody.
4-0.
Who expected Montreal to have such a Cinderella run last year?
I didn't. Habs fans didn't.
No, I don't know. I feel like you definitely have some people that said they could take it all the way because, well, who would they look back upon, right? The Blues. Blues being dead last in January of that year.
Goaltending switch, coach switch, and then they win the Stanley Cup. Shout out Jake Allen.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Backup of that team.
Yes.
We will come back to at a later date.
We will come back to.
But they sweep Winnipeg. We're like, wow, we're North Division champs. But then who are we facing? The Vegas Golden Knights.
Big. Who had just defeated the team that everyone thought the cup was going to go to. It was either Tampa, they thought, or the Avalanche.
Yeah.
And Vegas beat the Avalanche.
They beat the Avalanche. I'm just like, we are going to get steamrolled. I didn't want it to happen because, everybody would say, well, the Canadian division sucks. but we go in there. We go in there, and then we beat them in 6 games. They win in overtime to go into the Stanley Cup Finals. Is a living miracle that I wasn't loud enough to wake up my parents when I watched that game. I was going ballistic. And then who are we facing? Tampa Bay. And I'm thinking, oh no. People think I
didn't Montreal win game 1?
We won game 4.
It was game 4, okay.
Because we were down 3-0. I was like, oh, guess I'm right. And then we beat them once in overtime. I think it was Josh Anderson, I think, scored the OT winner.
Yes.
And and then we lost in 5. And I was like, well, I didn't think we would get nearly this far. I thought Toronto was going to starch us, and they very nearly almost did.
Just to rip Toronto, though, for that.
Well, they were 3-1 up. They lost their captain to a freak injury. You can't blame them for that.
Yeah, that happens.
Spezza played amazing. You can make an argument that Marner and Matthews weren't living up to the hype, but Nylander was. Nylander was God.
Nylander
Jack Campbell was God.
Jack Campbell
was some good soup, bro.
Good soup.
Like, and then the Habs just battled back and they won that series. They win 2 series. They win 3 series, and then they get smashed.
Bro, I won't lie, I was hoping, because I know I'm not a Montreal fan. Doesn't mean I hate them. I'm just not, that's not my team. But I want a Canadian team to win.
So bad.
I don't care if most teams have Canadian players on the American teams. I want a Canadian team to win.
Honest to God, the Edmonton Oilers, I know this is off topic, but the Edmonton Oilers, if they can get, because Mike Smith just re-injured himself. So he's going to be out for longer. Don't know the details on that yet. But if they can get a good goaltender, Mark-Andre Fleury,
he's on a great team right now. What do you mean?
Legitimate run. Their power play is godly. Anyway, I'm going to get off that topic.
They have 2 big guys, right? McDavid and Draisaitl that are doing work.
And it's like everybody's like, well, Draisaitl's Draisaitl's the best in the league this year. He's like, no, he's not even the best player on the Edmonton Oilers because McDavid's there.
Because McDavid.
But
and that stinking run. Oh my land.
Insane.
McDavid scares everybody.
Scares everybody. Back to my rant.
Yes. That you really haven't ranted.
Oh, but I will.
Oh, it's ramping up.
It's about
I feel
to
the
happen.
tension. What is this, bro? I feel the tension. It just landed.
Oh. Like, this has been the story of the Habs for my entire life. My entire life. They suck for a half a dozen seasons. They have one cool run, and then the head office is like, well, we contended this year. We're just going to not do anything. Cool. We'll just sign a couple guys who aren't that good but are safe players, and we'll contend next year. It happened in 2010 when Montreal went all the way to the Eastern Conference Final and lost against Philadelphia. I still have a slight distaste in my mouth for Chris Pronger for that series. He was an absolute menace. Even though he is the answer to my favorite hockey question ever. 2 defensemen have won the Hart Trophy. One was Bobby Orr, who did it 6 times, and the other one was Chris Pronger.
Of course. How many times have I heard that?
I've said that at least 10 times to you, but I wanted to get that on the podcast. It's
10
just so
times
cool.
To me in like what? A month? That's a big hyperbole. but I feel like I hear that.
2010, they lose against Philly. Philly goes on, loses against Chicago.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
big cut for Chicago.
Yaroslav Halak was the starter during that run. Carey Price was the backup.
Oh, I wonder where Halak is now.
Halak is... Oh, who knew? Fun fact, Halak had the playoff records for saves in a game in that playoff run. Who has it now? Either Merzlikins or Korpisalo. I can't remember which one. One of the two. During that like quadruple overtime in the bubble in the bubble playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it was the bubble playoffs. Yeah, it was.
Stinking the playoffs, but they're not playoffs. But they are.
If it wasn't for the pandemic, the Habs would have missed the playoffs last 2 years. Mark my words. You can just look at their schedule. It's just like they shouldn't have been there.
I think the Canucks would have squeezed in. They played the bubble and won, but I think they would have squeezed in.
But anyway, 2010.
All right, we're ramping up. We're ramping up.
What do we do? Next to nothing. I should have research what the moves we did was back then was. Besides trading Halak, we capitalized on that playoff run and then ran with Carey Price for the next 13 years or whatever, or 10 or 11 years, which was good move. Honestly, if my favorite organization wasn't an absolute dumpster fire, he might have a Hall of Fame career. He probably still does, but maybe he'd have a cup. Then we go on, 2014. We make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Carey Price is playing amazing. What do we run into? The New York Rangers. Who does what's his name? Chris Kreider run into? Who does Chris Kreider run into? Carey Price. He hurts himself. We lose the series. And then Rangers go into the Stanley Cup Finals, lose. Might have been Chicago. I can't remember if it was them or not. It was either them or Boston. I can't remember. Or LA. I don't even know. I can't even remember. Google. The Los Angeles Kings defeated the New York Rangers.
It was Kings.
In 4 games, 2-1. Series winning goal by Alec Martinez.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was Los Angeles.
Justin Williams, the stud. What a stud he was.
Justin Williams.
But yeah, 2014, we make a run after sucking for 3 seasons. And what are we going to do? Nothing. 2016, we trade PK Subban for Shea Weber. I personally was indifferent to the deal. We just got a slightly older but safer player but had injuries, in opposed to a electrifying yet sometimes a liability, but mostly electrifying. A lot of people just say PK Subban was just an absolute liability on the ice. Cancer in the locker room. I don't believe that. That's ridiculous. He was a boisterous dude. Some people are just wild guys. We make that trade. We suck for so long. We get so many high draft picks.
Nashville is like kaboom.
Nashville, after that trade, goes to Stanley Cup Finals, loses to Pittsburgh, mind you, but they go to the Stanley Cup Finals.
It's still finals.
Short term, it's looking like Nashville in that trade. But we get all these high picks. I can't remember what year Galchenyuk was drafted, but he was drafted probably actually right around 2014 or 2015, if I had guessed.
Somewhere around there.
Galchenyuk is drafted, I think, 3rd overall. Has a couple good seasons. He was all right. Gets traded for, I believe, Max Domi. And Max Domi gets like a 72-point season. Seems like a stud. What do we do? After a down year, mind you, we trade him to Columbus for Josh Anderson. Now, his last full season before that trade was wicked. He scored like 30 goals or something like that. So we signed him to like a $7 million deal a year.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, hopefully he'll go back to that season. And then we draft Jesperi Kotkaniemi, 3rd overall. What do we do?
I'm just gonna keep my head hung in shame.
This is where the rant's gonna start, Matt.
Yes.
This is where it's gonna get fiery.
This last 10 minutes have been build up.
The entire re-sign phase. We could have gave him a contract offer. We could have offered him
money.
It would not have been out of possibility to get him on like a 3.5, maybe even $4 million deal. But that doesn't happen, does it?
Mm-mm.
They send the qualifying offer, which is absolute garbage. He's like, yeah, nope, I'm not signing that deal. And rightfully so. And then what happens? Carolina decides to be an absolute troll, and I hate them and I love them at the same time. But they send what I believe to be a 1-year deal, just over $6 million. And what was his signing bonus, Matthew Cronkite? A crisp $20 bill. Why was it $20, you may ask? Well, that's the number of Sebastian Aho. Why does he get thrown in this situation? Montreal decided to offer sheet him a couple years before that. And of course, Carolina matches it. Then Carolina tends an off sheet to Kotkaniemi. $20 up front.
Don't worry
Here,
though,
play for our
Carolina's
team.
not
You
doing
get
that
paid
well.
$6 million for the next year, and here's a $20 bill. Go get yourself a Big Mac.
Bro, Carolina's not even doing that well this season.
Don't talk to me about that, you jerk. Carolina
only
is
second in the league.
Carolina's team is built on the tiers of the Montreal fan base and the Toronto fan base.
Yep, congratulations, and it's worked, and it has worked.
You know, Carey Price is opting out for the start of the season. Good on him. Get your health right. Shea Weber looks like he might not play again. That's what the toll of a Stanley Cup run can do to you, literally. Hopefully he gets well. But what are we gonna do to make up for that? And I don't mean to disrespect these players as people. But what did we do? Oh, we're gonna claim Samuel Montembeault off waivers to be our backup behind Jake Allen. And who are we gonna sign in the offseason? Mike Hoffman hasn't been that bad. I'll give him that. Mike Hoffman leading the team. You know who's second in points? Ben Sherratt. You know what freaking line of defense he played last year? Not the first. Well, that's why he might have played with Weber. I might be mistaken in that case. But he was playing alongside Weber. Who else do we sign? David Savard. Good French guy. Scouted by Tampa Bay. Won a cup with Tampa Bay. And we're thinking, man, we're going to need the second coming of Christ to be relevant this season. And you know who David Savard turned out to be? The second coming of Carl Alsner. Carl freaking Alsner. And no disrespect to him. No disrespect to Alsner or Savard as people. I'm sure they're great guys.
Oh,
and David Savard is a defender that if we have a lead late in the game, which has not happened very much this season, that he can help close that game out. But with him on the ice, we have been outscored like 4-1 in like every game.
Bro, what do you mean?
With him on the ice.
What do you mean? You guys are doing great.
We've been absolute doo-doo. The second why do I throw Carl Alsner under the bus?
I don't know, but it was really funny.
I'll tell you, Matthew. We signed him out for free agency, I believe. I don't think we traded for him. I think we signed him off for free agency. And he proceeds to do absolutely nothing for like 4 years.
Now that's what I call a Canadians player in about 75% of their life.
He turned into the first person you get rid of out of every GM mode and shell for every Habs fan to clear up like $6 million in cap space.
Yep.
Because he was like at one point he was like rated like 78, making like $7 million.
Oh my land.
Now, and what is the bane of my existence being a Habs fan? Is it the players underachieving? You know, they can only do what they can do.
It's all of it.
We had Dominic Ducharme as our coach solely because Claude Julien got fired. And then we make our improbable run. You're like, you know what we're going to do to this guy who's literally only supposed to be damage control? We're going to give him a 3-year deal. Be your coach for the next 3 years. Everybody was like, that's not a good idea. So now we have 2 coaches on the books. Because if you fire a coach, it's not like the rest of their entitled money is just going into the ether. They're still getting paid.
Yep.
They still have severance pay.
Yep.
So that's 2 coaches on the books. Now, Dominic Ducharme is showing his real colors, which are not Les Bleu, Blanc, et Rouge. Just a bunch of rouge.
Did you just say rouge?
Just a lot of rouge.
Did you just say blue, blanc, rouge?
Rouge.
I heard rouge.
A soft G, bro.
I know, it's because I think the mic cut it out. So I hear Blue,
Oh,
Blanc,
okay.
and Rug.
Rug.
Blue, Blanc, and Rug. Like Rug.
I can't wait to hear that back.
Blue, Blanc, and Rug. The three primary colors of my Canadian team is Blue, Blanc, and Rug.
Long story short, our coach sucks, and now they're talking about firing him too. Hasn't happened yet, probably won't happen unless we get even worse. Which who knows what could happen at this point.
That's just painful.
Marc Bergevin, our general manager. You know, you could say, well, he hasn't been that bad. Probably did Stanley Cup final. You know, he's known for the Weber Subban trade. He's literally known for those two things.
There you go. There's his resume.
And the Suzuki Pacioretty trade. That's about it.
Yes. Well, let me just write this down. Sounds like a long list. So you said 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on this guy?
Yeah. Nothing. Zilch.
Nada.
Every year since I've been born, this team has been a dumpster fire. And I know people are going to be like, well, maybe if they just hired the best head coaches, the best GMs, and the best players, instead of having all these French representation, maybe they'd win more games. Oh, yeah. Just turn the only Francophone team into literally every other team in the NHL. Yeah, that's a great idea. You're totally not going to alienate every single one of your fans.
Sounds like a great idea.
It's not that they're hiring French people over the best people. They're just hiring bad people to run their hockey team. It's nothing to do with what ethnicity.
You can't say that ethnicity has been a problem because Montreal has a few cups underneath their belt in the past.
Not since I've been alive.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about then.
I mean,
I'm talking about the last 23 years.
It means that they could have at least. They've had cups in the past with no ethnicity problems.
People, with the French players, with the French coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the problem. It's just they're garbage at scouting the right people in those areas.
Yeah.
I was watching, and this is another SDPN reference. I was watching the Game Over podcast, which is ran by Andrew Berkshire. They were talking about this very subject, and one of the guests they had on, and I apologize for not remembering his name. I'm going to try and pull it up on Twitter because I know I retweeted him earlier today.
You got this.
But Nicolas Cloutier, hopefully I pronounced his name right. He's a French sports journalist covering the Habs and their farm teams. He rhymed off like 8 people in hockey offices who are incredible, and he rhymed off their accomplishments. I was like, why aren't we hiring those guys?
Because that's a smart decision. we don't want smart decisions in the NHL.
He's like, we have good people in these markets. Just hire the good ones. My team sucks, man. I could go on.
I feel it. I feel it.
I swear to God, the demise of this organization was when Patrick Waugh got starched for 9 goals against Detroit. It was like, I'm never playing for you again.
Yep. Well, that was
wins 2 cups in Colorado, and Montreal's been irrelevant ever since.
It's very true. That was he was there with the last cup.
Like I tweeted after the Montreal LA game because Danault scored like twice, and all I tweeted out was a picture of Philip Danault in a Stanley Cup Finals Habs jersey on the ice, and captioned, "Sometimes all I think about is you." I could keep going on. This is a Habs Vancouver podcast. I need to give you the floor.
Vancouver. I don't need to give as much context because my team hasn't had accomplishments.
Put me out of my misery. Turn me into Old Yeller.
All right.
Bring me behind the barn and shoot me.
Okay. No, I can't put you out of your misery. You need to live a little bit more misery. Oh no. I
That's totally what I need. More
I
misery.
mean, you mentioned that that the problem obviously is not just the players. While my team, I think that's the only problem. What on earth is going on with my team? Sting, you guys have got such a legend. They're not good.
Well, I know they're not good.
Not in playoff.
They're like 5-6-2, right? I don't know where that puts them.
5-6-2. That puts them 5th in the conference, and it puts them 25th overall in the league.
Fifth in your division, you should say.
Well, it is in the conference. In my division, it's 7th.
Ooh.
It's even worse.
Wait,
it's even worse.
It can't be 7. I thought
the only team worse. The only team worse is Seattle.
Oh, is there 8 people? Okay, I'm just dense.
There's 8 in the division.
I'm just dense.
Yeah, there's 8 in the division, and Canucks are 7th. Right. I am absolutely sad because of the legendary goaltender we hold. Not only do we have Halak, by the way, like decent goaltender,
out of a backup. Stud of a backup.
Yeah, that's the funny part. Why do I have a bad feeling that this is going to be the Roberto Luongo, Corey Schneider thing that happened?
Well, it's not because Halak's old as dirt.
Yeah, well, Luongo wasn't the youngest guy in the world either.
I'm pretty sure Halak is older than Luongo was at that point.
Yes, Halak is older, but I'm a little bit nervous because of that. We have 2 really stinking good goaltenders, and it's like Thatcher Demko. I know he had such a terrible start, like they threw him up from when they started him the first game that he did. What an idea. Let's just put it that way. What an idea that was. Thanks. I'm glad it didn't ruin his career because of the stuff he's just pulled off. Like, Thatcher Demko is a godsend. There is no question. After the goaltending we've had, and it's not a bash at Markstrom, because what team is he on?
Calgary. And
he's doing phenomenally, and that just kind of proves...
He did good when he was with Vancouver. He earned that contract.
He did very well, and we made playoff runs after years of never making playoff runs. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We don't go up and down like Montreal to any extent, but we have not had a good run. Like the bubble run, we got to 2nd round. That is the farthest we have gotten since 2012. The 2011-2012 run, we got to the finals, but we got to 3rd round and lost to the Kings. Or San Jose. Which one was it? It was San Jose in the 3rd round, I think. I forget.
Oh, yeah,
it's a while ago. That is the last time we have reached 3rd round. That was after
the Stanley Cup Finals run. Against a team that shall not be named.
Oh, well, I just named it.
A team that we both equally hate for different reasons.
I've definitely... I mean, I'm not... I like when teams have fun. I don't like teams that play dirty, and obviously when you have specific players on your team that are very dirty, you tend to not enjoy the team as much. Brad Marchand. Oh well. Because the problem is hating that team. Yes. But that team, like Bergeron, is awesome. I love Bergeron.
He's a gem.
Even though he plays on the team that beat my team out 4-0, by the way. 2011, I stayed up late because I was living way down in East Coast of Canada, which is 4 hours difference. It was a home game.
Yeah.
So I stayed up late that night.
Just for context, we both grew up in New Brunswick. I'm still in New Brunswick, but he is now in BC. Boom. So the time difference is a lot more. So it's like 4
hours.
It's 7:39 right now where I am, which do the math. It's 3:49 where Matthew is.
49, yes. Totally not 39.
39, sorry.
I had to...
Keep it in, Matt. Who cares?
So, yeah. But I remember because it was in middle school when it happened. Mm-hmm. And we had the Quebec field trip the next day. Remember when we went to Quebec, I think grade 7?
Yep.
Yeah, and you didn't definitely buy a wallet and with all the money you had.
Not all of the money.
You bought a hockey stick. You had no money to put in that wallet, boy.
Here's the thing. I had a boatload of change, but it was change.
You Used
so it
all
took
of the
ages to
bills
count.
he had.
It
Used
got
all
it was
of
so
the
much
bills.
change that my teacher took pity on me and bought me McDonald's on the way back.
I remember that. But sticking by
Shout out
wallet.
Peggy Allen.
Montreal
You're
wallet.
the goat.
Yeah,
But
awesome teacher.
But you're talking about staying up. You know what I did for that playoff run? And I'm not even a Vancouver fan.
Bad.
I got the Vancouver Canucks alternate rink logo shaved into the back of my head.
Yes, you kept that bad boy hidden though.
at 12 years old.
Bro, I remember the hype that surrounded it. Literally, they made a parody song of a Bruno Mars song. They made a parody. There was so much hype because of the fact that we had won the Olympics that year in Canada. The overtime winner. Like, and every time that we've had it, and it was in Canada, and the other two times when it was in Canada, Montreal and Calgary, they both won cups that same year when it was held. So there was such there was such a momentum, and I don't know
and then
if there will ever be, because it's bad enough that we lost. It was a shutout, 4-0. My sister, who is a Canucks fan as I am, yeah, it was that bad though. But like, my sister was a Canucks fan. She actually quit watching the game because she couldn't watch anymore. She's like, I'm done. I sat there like 4 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, we're getting up at like 6 to go to this Quebec trip. I got 2 hours of sleep. Do you understand trying to deal with hecklers when you have no sleep and you're just so ticked off because your team has done something? Like the last time they hit the finals, it was Mark Messier, obviously. The Rangers took the cup the last time. And so there was so much. But it's horrendous to know that we have not had a good run. And we won't until, like, we have star players at that time as well. Like, I'm even wearing one of the shirts. Obviously, this is the Stanley Cup final. This is when I got this. And it's the Daniel Sedin shirt.
Big shout out to the Steeds.
It's okay because my sisters got the Henrik Sedin one. So we all match, and
Wasn't
then my brother's got Kessler. Back when he was
is Kessler.
Yeah, it's his number is why.
Okay, yeah.
But like we had star players, and it's not to say we don't now, but we had.
You guys have a deep team.
We have a deep team. Tell it to the stats. That's the problem with all of this, building this up.
Like, you have Pedersen, Besser, Horvat, Quinn Hughes, Connor Garland, who they just got this year, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who was in the same deal. Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland in the same deal.
Yes, we have a team. And why do I feel like
freaking Valerie Nichushkin?
Yep.
You didn't think I'd pull that name out of my head, but I got it out.
Hey, I just pointed at the screen and not the camera. But like, we have
Valerie
a roster.
I'll throw his name out too.
Like, yeah, we have a stinking roster, a good roster. And if it wasn't to make the icing on the cake, and I call this the icing on the cake, literally is the best part of the cake, our goalies are phenomenal. Like, just to see the save of the year contenders that Thatcher Demko has sent off are just unreal. And so it just baffles that we are 25th in the league overall. We are 7th
in the league.
In our division.
And last year was garbage too. I thought Vancouver was going to go deep last year.
Well, because we had Braden Holtby.
Braden Holtby and Thatcher Demko.
Well, Thatcher.
I was like,
Thatcher was a surprise because he was a rookie, or it was technically not his rookie season. Technically, he had played the year before.
He's very young.
But like, we had a goalie, but our team just was abysmal last year, and I kind of expected it to be, sadly. I know it was bad, but I expected this year because we had seen Thatcher Demko perform, and last year he was scary. He's now even scarier. Way scarier. Some of the saves he's pulled off. He had
that paddle save a few days ago. I was just like...
Yep. And then the no blocker save. The scorpion save. The scorpion save. That is literally like all the other parts of that save. Listen, that's like a game. That's a save of the year contender without the scorpion shot. but the Scorpion save was what took that to like the, oh my land. And then he does the stick save. And it's like,
I fell out of my chair when I watched that save. Like,
I had my mouth just dropped. That's what it was. I felt like a Canucks fan again when I saw that. Like, I can actually cheer for my team. I forgot what it's like to cheer for a team that I can actually do something. Are they doing something this year? Oh.
And here's the thing. And I know if we gain any sort of following from this podcast, people are going to say, why are you guys making such fuss? You only 14 games into the season. I'm going to turn it to Steve Dangle.
Hey, lol, wait. Haha. Nope.
14 games this season.
I'm 13 in, baby.
You know how long it's been for this franchise? It has been 13 games. It's been 23 years. Vancouver. 11.
See, I'd at least like to have the knowledge. This is where I will say there is a bit of a difference, but let me also interject that Montreal has been a team around longer than Vancouver. Vancouver didn't come into like ever until 1970 with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
And here's the difference. Even if we exclude all cups beforehand, Montreal does have one. And what does Canucks have? Oh, a shirt that says Stanley Cup Final.
During that time, Matthew.
Yeah, okay, yes.
We had more than one during that time.
You have like
we had a dynasty in the 70s, bro.
Yes.
We had one in 86 when Patrick Roy was a rookie.
Listen, I'm thinking about the most recent one, okay? I understand because Waugh definitely has at least two. Waugh had two before, so. But like this is the closest we have. Oh, isn't that nice? Look, it's a stitch of the Stanley Cup. Oh, the final.
In '93, we were we were a Gretzky high stick away from having Toronto and Montreal in the Stanley Cup Finals.
What a sad
Think
one.
about that.
That would have been sick. But then Toronto might have had a cup.
True. And then I'd be
that's
even sadder.
Actually, just in general, I do want a Canadian team to win. I know I'm ranting on Canucks. It doesn't matter what Canadian team wins. It could be the Jets. I know that they're a team that left and then came back.
They should. They also have a really good team.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about the Jets. Oh, never mind. The Jets are doing well. It was earlier, wasn't it, where they were just started? They're doing all right. They're third in their division. But I don't know what the sad part is that Quinn Hughes is doing work and Horvat's doing work. But what player is not doing work that needs to be doing work? What player? But literally probably one of our biggest players we look at. And this is why my team reminds me of Toronto so much right now, in the fact that they have good players and they're not doing now. Toronto's actually doing work right now. They actually have been
playing well.
Like they went on like a 4 or 5 game winning streak, lost one and then just won. Yeah. And they're actually doing work now. Marner's woken up finally. Nylander crazy.
Did you see the video during the kick goal against Philly where somebody asked freaking their coach? I don't know how I'm blanking on him. I can picture him.
Yes, the face he made though.
Hey, one of the teams asked Sheldon Keefe. He's like, "Are you gonna challenge that?" He's like, "You kidding?" They gave the most Italian shrug.
Yep. It's like
so funny. Killed me. And that
my land.
is a segue. Speaking about kicking
goals,
I've
already had my
Matthew's hot take.
My hot take.
This is hot takes with Kronk and Cakes to close out the show. It's our first
out the
cool
show.
segment.
We'll have, if we have anything else that we'll hit in, it'll be for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Other than our team sucking for no reason at all. Okay. Here's a little plug-in, and I say this because I have a little bit of experience, okay? This is just to have a little bit of experience. Cake
He was
knows
an amateur
this.
referee.
I reffed for about 4 years. I still have the rule books. I still have the knowledge.
Keep in mind this wasn't the NHL, but it's still hockey.
It's not. It's not. I reffed pretty much the highest I would have reffed was a few comps. I never did university. Highest I would have done was high school. So do know that I do have some of that stuff, but it's not crazy high.
Yes.
Over the last, however, I would say 3 years, 4 years, refs have had difficulty calling things. This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
It's a tough job. It's a tough job.
This is see, in this point, I know that you Cakes have a more of a hot take, while I have more of a people agree with this.
Yeah, you're just really mad about this.
Are abysmal. Not only, and here's where it gets me, because you ready? What happened a couple years ago? The goalie throwing his stick on a shot, and then Washington, it gets away with it because you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And then Georgiev does it to Canucks, to Pettersson, and it doesn't count. That was a really bad year for us. That did not help. Why are the refs so bad? And then it's like, oh, well, they don't know how to call anything in the playoffs. That's a known fact. Yeah. They don't know.
Connor McDavid not drawing a single call is absolutely abysmal.
Bro, and then Binnington getting away with some of the stuff he is. Binnington, that's another guy. Binnington getting away with a lot of it. And Marchand obviously getting away with. I love it. I know that Marchand has kind of gotten some more crackdown, or people are retaliating now. But back when it was happening, like, nothing was being called at him. Nothing. Minors. And then in playoffs, you're like decking people. And it's so funny because Toronto, or Nazem Kadri in general, it's like Nazem Kadri touches a guy, he's gone. Like, he's just gone. Pushes a guy over, and it's like, now you got suspended for head contact. They literally traded him out of Toronto because he was he just couldn't stay on the ice in the playoffs. Yeah, but it's like, oh, he just pushed a guy over. Oh no, he hit his head on the ice, or the Vegas one. The Vegas one. But I kind of say all this, I guess, because in more recent times, I know that that's kind of backing up the kicking motions. The kicking motions.
What the heck nowadays?
Is wrong with you? What the heck is
Literally, you have to square off in
you don't even need to be
crease, yell 10 hike, pick up the puck, and punt it into the net.
Bro,
for it to be called a kick.
Take 4 steps backwards, 3 steps to the left, raise your hand in the air, and get ready for kickoff, because there ain't no problem unless it's that. In the air,
check the wind, even though you're in a closed arena.
Yeah, closed arena. I'm sorry, the only wind is the stinking brain farts that they're having. These refs. That's the only wind that's being broken. All is the brain farts.
Philip Mano has had a kick goal. Toronto had one. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Tavares, or was it Will?
Toronto had its Nylander, which obviously wasn't a kick.
Yeah, that one wasn't a kick.
Dude, the very first one was the funniest. And it was like, the very first one ever shown was like, wow, that's definitely kicking motion. And it's like, they're never going to do that again. The second one that happened was even worse.
Yeah, it was even worse.
And it counted. It's like,
it counted.
Oh my gosh. The refs, you guys are getting, see, you could say like, oh, they're just being bribed. No, I think they're just that bad. There's no way that's bribery. They're just that bad. Like, your refs in an NHL game. I don't know if there is a worse ref like clinic that exists. NFL. I mean, I don't watch football, it's way worse. I don't know.
Trust me, it's way worse.
Okay.
Trust.
But it's like they don't know how to call penalties. They don't know how to call penalties because they either make the absolute worst call one way, or they make no call on a head contact. It's like,
on Mitch Marner.
Bro.
There was one where he did get called, but it was only like a 2-minute penalty. And he literally cold-cocked hit Mitch Marner in the head.
You know what?
Then he got suspended 2 games. He got suspended 2 games.
After.
They
couldn't make the call on the ice. They had to get, like, what? Ontario? Like, they had to get Toronto to call up and be like, hey, that's not good.
What the worst part about the refs, and it's not a part of the refs, it's about what equipment they have to use. I'll show you roundabout what they have to look at for video replays. They're looking at the entire game on a tablet like this. Like,
it is
like, is that the puck? Oh no, that's just a spectator.
Yep. It is just awful. Like, again, when it comes to that, it's okay, but when you mess up on some of the offsides as well, just in general, I see the argument you could use for it's not a good argument, by the way. I just know it's an argument that might be being used. In older years, obviously you could get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
Are they trying to go back to the older times? Or are they wanting players to get concussed? It's not like
Maurice Richard cold cock hitting one of the Boston Bruins in the head with a stick.
I don't know. Sometimes they might allow it.
Who knows at this rate?
How about the stick in headbutt?
Connor McDavid's like, screw you guys not calling penalties against these guys hitting me. I'm cold cocking Matthew Tkachuk in the head.
Matthew Tkachuk.
If that happened.
That's why people get away. But when you deliberately hit someone in the head and it's not called head contact, oh man, I'm glad they made a penalty for that. Luckily, they don't use it. Or they call head contact.
Miscontact and eject them out of the game. That's what it's supposed to be.
Or they make up a rule. It's like, if it's head contact and we deem it so, it's only a minor penalty. It's probably, you want to know what the sad part is? It's probably because they don't want to write the incident report.
Probably.
Because when it comes to a major penalty, there's legit, if you don't know this, there's a lot of paperwork.
Yep.
For filing, like with a penalty, there's not really any paperwork. When it comes to giving a misconduct, there's paperwork. Mm-hmm. I don't know the reason why. Like the head contact, especially making that the minor. Like I would rather the kicking motion than head contact only being a minor penalty. Or actually, calling the penalties.
I can give an example of one person who'd be like, you know what? This game kicking motion is probably not the best deal. I'm forgetting his name, so I'm going to Google it.
I know who you're thinking. It's actually more than one player, is it not? The goalie.
There's more than one person, but I'm talking about the goalie.
Well, the guy didn't really kick. He kind of just slid.
Well, his knife shoes, basically.
His knife shoes. We can't show the footage. That's too gruesome.
It's brutal.
It is. It's like known as the worst injury.
Clint Malarchuk would like to disagree with you, Matthew.
Listen. Head contact is happening so much more, and obviously kicking motion.
Yeah,
it's like anything around the head. In all honesty, and that's where kicking motion can kind of go into play as well. In that, it's these head hits that are just gonna mess up people's day more than their day.
And we talked about the NHL being sleazy with the Chicago thing. They're also sleazy with concussion protocol.
Bro, it's bad. Like, sleazy. If you've never had a concussion, it is brutal.
Sucks. Trust
Both of us have actually had concussions. Yeah, I just realized that.
I've had multiple undocumented also.
Yes, none of yours have been due to hockey, and all of mine have been due to... I haven't gotten one concussion outside of hockey. All of my concussions have been hockey. Yours are not hockey, but that's... we'll say you were going to hockey with quotations, even though you weren't. But man, concussions are brutal. They will put you out. Like, both of us had to leave our college. We couldn't go into college because our concussion prohibited us, which means that we can't learn things. It affects how we work, how we even walk. We have no energy because your head is like, you can't even think. You're not even supposed to think with a concussion. It is so brutal. And to know that they're not calling these things, it's like, what do you think we are?
Me.
You can't take your brain and go, oh, I'll replace it with the new one. No, you numbskull. Literally. I hope that's probably what you did, actually, is you remove your brain and then forgot to put another one in because that's why you ain't calling it. There's the hot take.
Oh, yeah, that's hot take.
And it's not to, okay, let me also preface before we go into yours. Let it be known, it's not that I personally do not like the refs. There are some, I love watching Wes McCauley make some of the calls he does. I love that stuff.
So good.
I love that stuff, but it's so bad when there are calls that need to be made that are not made, or goals that should not be allowed. Things that need to be dealt with. So it's not a diss at any specific ref. It's just in general,
for a reason.
Things are not being called.
There's a rule book for a reason.
And they overcomplicate that stuff.
Not using it.
Okay, I got to stop that hot take. I like refs. I was a ref. I understand the pressure of ref.
That's the thing.
We
don't hate refs. Just because we think they could do a better job does not mean we hate refs.
No, I was one. I understand the pressure that comes with it. Not to the biggest extent of NHL, but you also get paid a lot more money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that as well. Okay,
So,
now that we wrap that up and my hands are washed clean of that, I hope.
Yeah. Cakes is hot take.
Cakes, this one's an actual hot take.
This is actually a hot take.
Because it's untrue.
And it's slightly biased because we grew up in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
But New Brunswick needs some respect put on their name when it comes to NHL talent.
Hey, we need some respect. You give us some respect.
Put respect on their name, NHL community. And what you're going to say? Well, they only literally have like 2 notable hockey players in the NHL right now, and Jake Allen and Philip Myers.
One of them has a cup. Thank you very much.
Shout out to Philip Myers on the Nashville Predators D-Corps. And yes, Jake Allen does have a Stanley Cup backing up Jordan Binnington in St. Louis. But let me talk to you about a couple certain players who have played over the years, I'll admit, across a lot of years.
A couple, meaning over a decade.
Yeah, way over a decade.
Yep.
One goes without saying, Willie O'Ree, Pride of Friction. Shout out to Willie O'Ree.
Big. Literally, they have a rink.
The namesake of a entire skating arena in Fredericton, who is going to, I don't know the exact time, but soon, have a number retired by the Boston Bruins.
Big.
Something I can actually get behind that the Boston Bruins are doing. Breaking the color barrier for the NHL. Awesome. Incredible.
Willie O'Ree.
Well, let me talk to you about a guy who played in the 30s and 40s.
Ooh,
He's from Moncton, New Brunswick. A guy by the name of Gordie Drillin.
It's from Moncton. Never mind.
Gordie Drillin, Matthew. Let me tell you about this stud, okay? You know what he contributed to the game besides literally almost having a point per game and albeit short career, but he was almost at a point per game pace.
Incredible.
Matthew, quick pop quiz. What is one of the things that is drilled into players of all different levels of hockey when it comes to trying to score goals?
Punch people in the head, you get away with it.
What?
Punch people in the head, it's okay.
No.
You got a 50-50 shot.
What do coaches tell players when they're in the offensive zone?
Put the puck in the net.
Well, yes.
In the offensive
but more
zone.
specifically,
get to the slot.
Get to the slot. Get in front of the net. Specifically, get in front of the net. Because Gordie Drillin was basically the pioneer of the garbage goal. What is the garbage goal, you may ask?
If you're watching this podcast and you're this late into it, you probably know hockey.
The garbage goal is the goal scored by people such as Patrick Maroon, even John Tavares. What do they do to get all these goals? They get right in front of the net. And even if they...
And sometimes pushed into it.
But what do? They get in the net. They get in front of the net. Sometimes like a poltergeist.
Hey, ready?
Who's a notable...
Wait, who's a notable
right
guy?
In front of the net.
Who's a notable guy? One of the most iconic moments of someone who did that against Martin Brodeur. Sean Avery.
Sean Avery. And that wasn't even what I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna reference Brett Hall in the Stanley Cup Finals against Buffalo.
Kind of. No, I had to reference the Sean Avery stick. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
What an iconic moment.
Whoa.
Not even a bad guy, but he knew how to get underneath someone's skin. Matthew Tkachuk.
I'm gonna go off topic really quickly just to say one of my favorite chirps ever. Sean Avery was getting interviewed.
Yes.
After a handshake line. About a handshake line where Martin Brodeur basically ghosted him in the handshake line. He's like, I never really thought I was that dirty of a player, but I guess Fatso forgot to shake my hand. I guess called Martin Brodeur Fatso.
It's like,
Anyway.
bro, how brutal. The guy's not even a bad guy at all. He's not. He's pretty nice off the ice, and he was. It's just that was his job. That's what he got paid for.
Fat, so forgot to shake my hand, I guess he says.
Call it an
But
acting
anyway.
career. Call it antics.
Back to Gordie Drillin. Gordie Drillin was the pioneer of the garbage goal. But you know what else he did, Matthew? He scored.
That's how we score goals.
In his career, 295 points in 312 games. Albeit not a very long career. I believe he played like 7 or 8 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He played 6 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's a fact that I had to do some digging to find out. In 1938, Toronto made a run in the playoffs. They did not win the Stanley Cup, but Gordie Drillin won the playoff MVP. That's an exclusive club. Now, it was not the Conn Smythe Trophy at this time.
No.
But it's basically the same honor. Playoff MVP. He won it without his team winning the Stanley Cup. In his last year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which I believe was 1941, he did win the cup.
Hey.
And what team
these New Brunswickers love their cups.
What team did he end his career off? I believe this is correct. I'm 95%. Les Bleus Rouge.
Oh,
he finished his career with them.
Les Bleus Rouge.
He had a career high 52 points in 48 games in 1937-38. Keep in mind they did not play nearly as many games as they do now because they only had 6 teams. But he won All-Star honors. He won the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy.
Bing!
And almost tied his career high points in his one season with Montreal, where he put up 50 points in 49 games.
Gretzky's better.
You're not wrong.
Like, thanks for that one. That really benefited the conversation. You really knew what to input.
Wrong.
I'm like, thanks for the help. Thanks for the help. I'm trying to make New Brunswick look good, you know.
Yeah, you're just like, well, let me just tell you about Gretzky. Here's another name, and I mentioned this to you before the podcast.
Yes. Don
Sweeney.
Woohoo!
Left defenseman.
I have his hockey card.
You have his hockey card. I'm pretty sure I do too.
I don't have it here with me. It's in New Brunswick.
But Don Sweeney had a lot longer of a career than Gordie Drillin.
Mm-hmm.
He played 15 seasons with the Bruins and 1 with the Dallas Stars. He played a total of 1,115 games. 4th all-time with Boston.
Big.
And what does he do now, Matthew? He's the general manager of Boston. He won the General Manager of the Year award in the year they went to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost against St. Louis. Yeah. Again, shout out to
Jake Allen. Who did he lose to? Another New Brunswicker. New Brunswickers. Am I right?
Don Sweeney, man, who's incredible general manager from St. Stephen. Some people are like, where's St. Stephen? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, where is St. Stephen?
And who do you think has the best goalie stats? Just take a wild guess. Who's the only New Brunswick goaltender we've mentioned so far in this podcast?
Bobrovsky.
Jake Allen.
Jake Allen.
I have his stats as of April. He had 309 games played, 156 wins, a 2.51 goals against average. That's all right,
dude. That's decent.
But a commendable .912 save percentage.
Big.
The next guy under him was Roland Melanson, who is from Moncton, who had 291 games played, 29 wins, a 3.64 goals against average, and a not so commendable 833 or 883. Correct me.
Yeah,
883 save
not
percentage.
Good enough for the NHL. Not good enough for the NHL.
He didn't do too hot. And then there's Jake Allen, who backed up a Stanley Cup winning St. Louis Blues team. And people are going to say, well, he sucked the first half of the season where he was the starter. Yes, but when they made the switch, he played well.
Yes, exactly.
So what am I saying through all this?
I saw the technical problems we had for 2 seconds. You won't see it anywhere else but on YouTube, but for a second, everything glitched on there. I love it. That was really funny to see, actually. Oh, well. We'll keep it in.
And quick shout out before I close off my hot take to women's hockey players. Stacey Wilson from Moncton/Salisbury.
Boom.
Kathy McCormick from Blackville, New Brunswick.
Woohoo! Oh, my land, Blackville.
And
now that's even further in the States, even.
Carol Cooper and Rebecca Fahey and goalie Marlene Boissonneau, who's from Dundee, New Brunswick. And you're like, where's that?
Dundee. Oh, my
I don't even know.
You really went down. You don't know where Dundee is, really?
No, I don't.
Oh,
and
man, this is
outside
where,
of that,
I think it's near Miramichi area.
Probably, if I had to guess.
I think so. Yeah.
And then quick shout out to 3 teams.
Didn't they name a crocodile after that girl? Or that place, sorry? They named a crocodile.
I'm just going to ignore that you said that. I'm just going to ignore that you said that.
If you didn't get the joke, I'm sorry that you
He's
didn't
talking
get it
about Crocodile
you just
Dundee.
missed. Okay, well, stay.
Anyway.
Australian, not even close.
Anyway.
It's a Dundee, okay?
Quick shout out to 3 hockey teams from the Colored Hockey League in the Maritimes. The Celestials in Fredericton, the St. John Royals in St. John, and the Ralph Waldo Emersons, that were also in St. John. They are all black hockey teams that played right around the aptly named CHL. I shouldn't say aptly named, but
Canadian
which is not the CHL of today. It was the Colored Hockey League. Started in 1895 and stretched into the 1930s, facing a lot of backlash because, it was the 1930s.
Back in the time.
We all know how black people were treated back then.
Not with royalty.
And,
royalty
there's
free.
Literally no records to pull out stats-wise for all these players. They just didn't care to record all of it. But
makes sense.
Huge shout out to those players for walking so Willie O'Ree could run, basically.
Dude,
yeah,
Willie
what am I
O'Ree,
saying?
The icon.
So what am I saying about New Brunswick, folks? Albeit it's spread out between a lot of years. But we've had good players, guys.
We got good players.
We had good players, and we have good players.
We still do.
Philip Myers, I just
By the way, if you need
only...
to sign somebody, hold up. If you need to sign somebody, there's a guy down there. He's got a Canadiens jersey. He goes by the name of Nicholas Cake. Sign him up, bro. He'll be a grinder for you. Grinder.
I'll need
maybe an enforcer even.
Put me on the 4th line.
Bro.
Leafs call me and put me on the 4th line with
man?
Betts and Simmons.
What are you talking about? We'll grind out the like Lindgren. Not Lindgren. Like what's his name? Oh my land, I've blanked on him. Stars defense. Number 3. Why have I blanked on his name?
Oh, Stars defense?
Yeah. He's really fast. John
Klingberg.
Klingberg. Yes. Yeah. He skates that fast. And he's an enforcer / grinder. Wait, did I say he skates that fast? He kind of bounces.
Oh.
That is one of the worst jokes I had to say. I meant to say walk, and I switched it. The first one that came up was bounces. I'm sorry.
This is what happens. We're like, I'm glad these are finally getting out now and not at the start of the podcast. So hopefully we save people from quitting the video.
Okay, when I say this, he's not fat, okay? Cakes ain't
we
fat,
never said anything about that. You just said he was slow.
I said bounces, though. I said bounces.
My jaws hurt. My jaws are hurting.
He's not fat. If anything, I'm way more skinny than he is fat. So he's a good enforcer. That's what he is. He's got gains. It's gains, right?
He's an absolute unit, as they say.
Yes, he is a unit. He's not fat. Okay.
Before this
maybe earlier. Nah. This is what you call friend edge. Gong. Bong.
Before this gets to a bigger gong show. That's the first episode of the podcast.
Oh my land. I did not mean for that to pop out. I feel so bad.
Yeah, I'm sure that the multi-million-dollar hockey player is going to watch our podcast and be like, man, I feel sorry for myself. But anyway, that's been the first episode of the Unhealthy Scratches.
Well, of course. You have to say stuff that you don't really mean to pop out the way it does. It just popped out wrong. It happens. Welcome to my life.
If you like zany and off-the-wall commentary on the hockey, please consider following this podcast on social media and all streaming platforms. We'll have it out hopefully every Saturday on
Saturday
YouTube
or Sunday,
video,
whatever the day ends up being,
as well as Spotify.
We don't have a producer, Drew. Okay.
Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. This is such a god show.
This is going downhill real quick, and I'm like, do we need to wrap this up quick or enjoy the moment?
This is such a gong show. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram for updates on the podcast, as well as and follow the podcast on at ScratchesCast.
Okay. Yes.
Should
we give our Twitter handles?
I'm at cakesnick on Twitter. Matthew is at can't get Enux, spelled ENUCKS.
Bro, it's a genius. It's a genius at, and I will have nothing that comes against it. It is so clean.
If you like this podcast, give it a follow. Go to those Twitter handles for updates. We're also on me and the podcast are on Instagram. Pat is not. He's a boomer.
I'm a boomer.
He's a boomer. I'm also cakesnick, and the podcast is the Unhealthy Scratches.
Where'd you get that from?
My brain.
My brain.
All right, that's the podcast.
All right. Hope you're able to enjoy the rest of your day whenever you watch this and get a good night rest. Yes, thank God for this. All right. Signing out for the first one, I guess. Any last words?
I said enough.
You said enough. Okay, let's end it then.